Areca Palms. So clearly, let me start over. I don't even know what I want to say about this. Let me think for a second. Areca Palms. So probably the most common palm plant that you can buy for your house. Very relatively easy to care for and very, very popular. It doesn't really require much attention. It can tolerate most light levels. Watering is pretty straightforward. If you just get your placement and your watering right, then you can have a beautiful palm that's either this small or this big in your home for years to come. So by the end of this video, you're gonna know exactly where to place your plant to make sure it's super happy, what to look out for when you buy your plant to make sure you're getting a healthy one, how to take care of your plant to make sure you're taking care of it correctly, and then anything to look out for which may be red flags and cause for proactive action. So first thing to look out for when you're buying your plants is taking a close look at the leaves. So if you have a plant that's super healthy like this, you will notice that all the way till the tips of the leaves, it is fully green. Where you go into issues, and the most common issue you might find, is when the tips start to go black or dark brown. If this tip starts to go dark brown, it means that it's been overwatered. Throughout the care and life of the plant, there may have been issues, but when you're buying it, effectively, if it looks like this, nice and green, stalks are standing up straight, then you have a very happy plant and you should feel comfortable taking it home. The way to get this plant as happy as possible is to put it by a window, especially when you bring it home in the beginning, and give it the largest view of the sky. So if this was my window, you want to put it right by the window and give it the largest view of the sky as you possibly can. And once you do that, just keep your eye on it, because the only thing that can go wrong then is if it's getting too much direct sunlight. If it gets too much direct sunlight, what happens with this plant is that the tips of the leaves will start to go light brown. It will feel crispy as opposed to a dark brown mushy kind of feeling. If it starts to look crispy at the tips of the leaves, it means it's getting too much direct sunlight, and either your watering is not done correctly, i.e. there's not enough water in the soil, we'll get to that in a second, or it means that you would need to move further away because that water is not traveling fast enough up the plant to hydrate the tips of the leaves. So when you get the plant, again, it's better to keep it by a window, look at it every single day. The tips of the leaves, if they were to dry out, will dry out literally within a day, and very, very slowly. So just keep an eye on the tips. If they look totally fine, then you're good. If it doesn't, be vigilant. Start moving it a little bit further back. Don't take it all the way inside your room. Literally half a meter will make a massive difference. That's probably all you need to do. Once it's been acclimated in your room or in wherever you decide to place it, give it about a month. And then after about a month, you can start taking it a little bit further into the room. You should still always give it a view of the sky. What I always like to say is if it's happy where you've placed it, don't move it. In the wild, this Areca palm's not gonna get up and walk around, so in your house, it probably is not wise to make it do that. You've taken it home, you've placed it in the perfect spot, it looks really happy. How do you then water it to make sure that it's being watered correctly? Well, we have a watering video which we talk all about that. What you need to know is that this plant falls into the category of plants that like its soil to dry out a little bit, which basically means you want about 30 to 50% of the top layer of the soil to dry out before you re-water it. In that video, we talk about how do you test and make sure the top 30 to 50% of the soil is actually dry, and then how do you water it correctly so that you're not over or under watering that plant. Follow the guides in that video, do everything that it talks about. Now, there are other things you need to look out for which may be an indication that something is not quite right with your plant. The three most common things you might see happening with this plant is number one and two relate to the tips. If the tips of the leaves, and I think we have one here we go. If you can zoom into this, I'll try to show you. If the tips of the leaves look dark brown like this, almost kind of blackish, it means that it's been overwatered. Basically what's happening is it's being overwatered, the roots are rotting, and that rot is being pulled up the plant through the roots, up the stem, and pushed towards the ends of the leaves. Now it's important to notice that these are dark brown in nature, especially when they first appear, they won't feel dry and crispy. Dry and crispy is the second type of issue you might find on the tips, which basically is a result of underwatering. Basically, the tips of the leaves are getting dry, i.e. water is evaporating faster than the plant can get water to that tip. And as a result, it's drying out, it's turning light brown. I don't have any plants that look like that right now, but you will likely know. If something is wrong with the tip, you would probably have a good intuitive understanding of, am I overwatering it or underwatering it? If it's right by the window, it's getting lots of direct light, you haven't watered it in a few weeks, you will notice the tip's being dry. Like it's gonna let you know. Similarly, if you feel like the soil has been continuously moist every time you're checking it, every time you're watering it, and you're seeing it go dark brown, you probably will know that you've underwatered your plant. In either case, what you want to do is, first of all, address the tip. You have to snip it off. It's not going to return to green, but that's totally fine. And cut off those tips. Make sure they're clean so that you're not transferring any bacteria onto the plant or any pathogens that you don't want there. Once that's done, you need to address the root cause of what happened. Again, try to understand from your practice whether your plant was over or underwatered. And then obviously if it was overwatered, wait longer between watering cycles. If you feel you may have underwatered it, increase your watering cycle frequency. Now, notice I've said increase or decrease the frequency. It's not about the amount you're giving it. It's about the periods you're waiting between which you're giving it. Again, all in our plant watering video. Go watch that. The final and last thing you need to look out for is sometimes what may happen is you may see an Areca palm and a frond has fallen off. It's literally 90 degrees. If you take that frond and I don't have one here, I wish I did, but if you take that frond and you then pull it out, it's easy. Like if I try to pull this, you see how literally, if I hold two, I can pull out the whole root, right? With those, if you pull one, it'll just come out of the pot. To understand what happened, you need to know what's going on beneath the surface layer of the soil. And what's happening is each of these stems have roots coming out of it and holding onto the soil. That root is providing anchorage for the entire stem. When you overwater a particular area of that plant, those roots end up dying and rotting away. That stem ends up falling, which is why you're not able to pull it out entirely. It's because it has no roots anymore. If that happens, yes, you can throw away that stem, but you need to then take a step back and understand what went wrong. If that went wrong, you were likely overwatering it, and then you need to take steps to address your overwatering to make sure, again, you are reducing the frequency of your watering to make sure it doesn't happen again. Unfortunately, if you do see it fall down, it's not gonna recover. Best thing to do is to snip it off and throw it away, and hopefully you will get new stems. What I've seen other people do is just tie it together and sort of try to force it to stay up. It's never gonna go back up entirely. So tying it is not really doing much. If it were me, just throw it off entirely, new stems will grow. As long as you're giving it all the care and love that it deserves, which I know you will do because you are an awesome plant parent, and this will be your favorite child. Have a great day.